Welcome for today's session. So can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So before proceeding to session, I would like to know the strength from all the seniors. Light A, give me the report.
Jain, sir.
Jai.
There are total 39, sir.
Of
62.
light B. Light B.
Change, sir. 26 out of 57.
Light C.
23 out of 35.
Your voice is not clear.
3 out of 35, sir.
23.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Fine. Okay, cadets. So before proceeding to today's session, so I'd like to know what are the topics that are covered in the last session. Can anybody revise it? Any cadet?
Jain, sir.
Jai Hind.
Hello? Yeah.
Go ahead.
This is correct, Manish, sir.
Yes, Manish.
Last class, it spoke about meteorology, sir.
Okay.
So you spoke about clouds, then the classification of clouds,
Okay.
then precipitation, then the hazards of precipitation,
Okay.
and then visibility and humidity, sir, and relative humidity.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Manish. So we have discussed about the
Thanks, sir.
meteorological conditions in the last session. So as Manish told, so we had covered the different types of clouds, humidity and relative humidity, and the formula to calculate the relative humidity and the hazardness which creates for aviation. So in today's class, we will talk about navigation system. So let's switch the screen. I'll share the screen. Can you see the screen? Okay. So air navigation system is different than the road navigation system, because when we talk about the road navigation system, we have a predefined way or a path which the person or the vehicle will follow it, or the driver follows it. But whereas in air, there is no designated path, but the flying should happen with respect to some land markings which are designated in the map. So there are different types of maps that are available, or which is followed by based on the situation. So when we talk about the VFR conditions, because we use maps only in the VFR conditions. Otherwise, we have to rely on the digital systems in the instrument flight rules in the IFR systems. So in VFR, the pilot used to carry the navigational maps which assist him, aid him in the flying. So basically, when we see here, there are three types of aeronautical charts which are used in the VFR, which are used by the VFR pilots. One is the sectional plot, sectional chart. Second is VFR terminal area and world aeronautical. Okay. So all these charts are vary only in terms of the scaling. So all the charts representation which is drawn on the paper, which we call it as a chart, which includes, maybe you can see like this here. So this is the air route map, or the chart we call. So here all the designated markings in the paths and the land markings are mentioned here. So the scale, the size with the area cover, so there are different types of maps exist. So either it can be a small map or a small scale map or a large scale map. So here the scaling for the section chart will range from 1:5 lakh. So it means here 1 inch represents 6.86 nautical miles or approximately 8 statute miles. Yeah. So this chart provides the information required by the pilot. For example, the airport data, navigational aid, airspace, and the topographic information that is provided with this sectional chart. Coming to VFR terminal area chart, here the scale gets changed. So it is 1:, we can say here 2 lakh. So the scale has reduced. So it is 1:250,000. So basically this is used when we are flying with the Class B airspace. We have talked about the Class A, Class B airspace when we are discussing about the airmanship. Hope you remember it. And here the 1 inch on the map represents 3.48 nautical miles or 4 statute miles. Whereas the World Aeronautical Chart, its scaling range from 1:, we can say 10 lakhs. So here it is 1 inch is equal to 13.7 nautical miles. You see the size of the scale varies. So here the size of the scale, what happens, it varies, and it means it provides less information, but it covers a larger distance area. But whereas the sectional, if you see, the area on the ground, it covers less, but there are more number of features accommodated on this. It means it provides more accurate or more information aids are available in this sectional chart, but the area covered on the chart is less. So it means if you are flying with a far distance, then we cannot go with sectional chart, then we have to go for the the World Aeronautical Chart. Or if you are flying for a shorter distance, then we can even go for the VFR terminal area charts. Now to understand this navigation system, we have to understand the meridians, the horizontal and the vertical lines, which we call it as the latitude and longitude. So, you know, this Earth is sphere. So it is not a perfect sphere, but in terms of aviation, we consider it's a perfect sphere. And we have some imaginary lines that we consider as a reference in the aviation system. So there is something called the Great Circle, which is the Great Circle is nothing but which cuts the sphere into 2 equal halves. So you can consider the sphere is nothing but the equator. So equator is a example of the great sphere or a great circle, not sphere, sorry. The great circle is one which cuts the sphere into 2 equal halves. So here equator can be considered as a great circle. So it's an imaginary line equidistant from the pole of the Earth's circle. And circles parallel to equator, we call it as the latitudes. And these are represented either in terms of the north or south latitude. We know this. And it is represented as in terms of degrees, minutes and seconds. So maximum it can have a 90-degree. So latitude can be defined as a point to lines of latitude. And meridians are the lines which runs from North Pole to South Pole, which are to a right angle to an equator, which are at 90-degree to the equator. So here the prime meridian is one which passes through the Greenwich, which you all know. It passes through the Greenwich in the England, where the longitude line represents it as a 0 line for the measurement. And from that Greenwich, it can go 180-degree on the east as well as 180-degree on the west. So it is designated as east or west. So here it is taken one example to represent some location. So we represent the location in terms of latitude and longitude, where latitude can range from 0 to 90 degree and longitude range from 0 to 180 degree. So 0 starts from Greenwich. So 180 degree either east or west, latitude is north or south. So when we talk about the time zone with respect to this latitude and longitude, then we know that the day is divided into 24 hours and the earth revolution is 15 degrees per hour. So with this, if we take as a standard practice, so if we take 15 degrees of longitude difference from one place to another place, so then the time difference will be exactly 1 hour. Now, for example, if this is your Earth, and this is a North Pole, and this is South Pole, and these are the meridians. With respect to east, the longitudes. Now, if I consider this is 0 degree, then if I take 15 degrees, then if I take one more longitude at 30 degrees and one more longitude say at 45 degrees, then the physical distance, with respect to the physical distance, the locations here and here are with a difference of 1 hour. So that is what it is mentioned here. So the time zone differs with every 15 degrees of longitude. So if the longitude changes by 15 degrees, then we can assume that we can consider that then the difference is of 1 hour. Okay, so these are some general points which we all should know it. Now this is what it is shown here. Now this is the longitudinal points which are passed through the different regions. One is a Pacific standard. This is the mountain standard, that is central standard, and this is eastern standard. And these are exactly 15 degrees apart from the longitude, and there is a time difference of 1 hour each. That is what it is shown there. When we talk about the navigation system, then we should also understand there are several things with respect to the directions. Measurement of direction. So in which direction we are flying or in which direction we are heading? Is it the same which is shown by the compass? Is it true? But in fact, the ground reality is that the true course and the magnetic course or the true north are different. Because here the meridian covers the poles. As we can see, the meridian is nothing but the longitudinal lines which runs from the North Pole to South Pole. And the magnetic property of the Earth throughout is not same. The magnetic property differs in the different places. It is not uniformly distributed. The magnetic property is not uniformly distributed throughout the sphere or throughout the Earth. It's the magnetic property changes from place to place. So that is where the true magnetic north has a deviation with respect to the meridian north. Sorry, the magnetic north is different from the meridian north. So that you can see from this diagram here. So the blue lines, what you're seeing here is the longitudinal lines which runs from north to south. Whereas the red lines which you are seeing here, these are the magnetic north lines. So in short, I call this as MN, the magnetic north, and the true north we call in short as a TN. Hope this is clear to you. Is this clear? Cadets.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay. If you understood, then tell me what is a great circle? Any cadet? What is a great circle? Circle passes through equator. See, circle passes through equator is not a great circle. Its equator is a kind of example of great circle, which cuts the sphere into two halves. Correct. Okay. So I hope you understood also the difference between the true north and the magnetic north. So now, since we now understood that the lines which runs with respect to the magnetic variations, the magnetic north, what we call it, is not same as a true north. So then the course of measured on the chart is called the true course. It means with respect to the chart, we prepare one flight plan and we say that we are flying in that true course direction. And this direction is referred to as the meridian or the true north direction. And in the aircraft, and the direction to intend the aircraft is measured with respect to clockwise, with respect to true north, is fine. Now, for example, if you are flying from say point A to point B, and that is with a degree of 65 degrees on the map, then we say the true course is 65 degrees. Or if you are flying in the other direction, then it is 360 minus 65, then it is 245 degrees. Clear? So that is the true north. But whereas the true heading is different than the true north. So true course is what? In which direction we are flying with respect to the true north. It means the north with respect to the meridian lines. Whereas the true heading is a direction where the aircraft nose is pointing. Is here. And it is also represented with respect to clockwise from true north. And usually this is not same due to various effects. So one is the effect due to wind and also the effect of the magnetic north. So if we say that the wind effect is zero, if there is no wind effect, then the true course and the true heading both are same, say for example 65 degrees. Clear? Now let's talk about the variations. So when we prepare the flight plan, is it exactly we are going to fly in the same direction? What are the variations that comes into effect? So variations in terms of angle between the true north and the magnetic north we need to understand. Because as you can see from this diagram here, the true north and the magnetic north lines does not coincide always, but sometimes at some point maybe you can see here it coincides, here it coincides, where maybe at some point here it coincides to a certain extent, but not everywhere. So now it is expressed as the variation. These variations are expressed as east variation or west variation depending upon whether the magnetic north is to east or west of the true north. Let us understand this with example. Now before taking an example, let us understand the actual location of the true north, magnetic north pole or the north magnetic pole. So the north magnetic pole is located close to 71 degrees latitude and 96 degree west longitude. Clear? And is about 1,300 miles from the geographical true north. So it means if this is our true north, then distance from here to here is 1300 miles. The magnetic north and the true north. So here the magnetic north is there. So the magnetic north is at 71 degrees north latitude and 96 degree west longitude. So this is very important. As a general knowledge, it is required for all of us to understand this. So remember, the magnetic north located at 71 degrees north latitude and 96 degree west longitude with 1300 miles from the true north. Here. Now, there are two more terminologies. One is called isogonic and one more terminology is there, and agonic. Isogonic and agonic. So if there is a variation between the true north and the magnetic north, if it points in the different direction, then we call that the difference is isogonic. And if it coincides, then we call it as agonic. If the minor bend or turn in the, okay, it's the definition we have to look here somewhere. Okay, here you can see the definition. The amount and the direction of variation which change slightly from time to time in aeronautical is represented as a broken magnetic lines, is called as the isogonic lines that connects the point of equal magnitude variations. If there is no variation between the true north and the magnetic north, it is called agonic line. If there is variation, then we call it as isogonic line on the chart. Right? So now we can see from this chart. So this red line which is indicated here is agonic line where there is no difference between the true north and the magnetic north, whereas here there are slight variations out there. Okay. Now you can see from this diagram here. Now the variation, east variation and the west variation with respect to different places. Now if the aircraft is heading towards the North Pole, which is the true north, then the magnetic north is tilted towards right, then we call it as the east variation. And if there is no deviation of magnetic north and the true north, if it coincides perfectly, then the variation is zero. We call it as a zero variation. And if the variation is tilted towards left, then we call it as the west variation. Clear? So now to understand this much better, let us take one example. So suppose we draw a line between the 2 points on the chart and we call it as the true course with respect to true north. And we are flying with respect to these courses. Now what are the types of deviation that may occur? So one is the magnetic variation. So whenever there is a magnetic variation, then we need to add or subtract these deviations. Okay. So let us take an example and understand these deviations. So when an aircraft is flying between the 2 points, say point A and B, and the aircraft is heading may not match with the original course line on the chart. Now, for example, if the variation on that place is 9 degrees towards east, so this means the magnetic north is 9 degrees to east of the true north. Now, if you see this first diagram here, we are supposed to fly to this with respect to this true north NP, North Pole, but the compass is showing this deviation with respect to the east. So if the variation of this deviation is say 9 degrees, if you are flying the true course with 370 degrees, then we have to set the compass with -9 degrees. So it means we have to fly the aircraft in 351 degrees. I repeat again. For example, if as per our flight plan, if our true course, which we are supposed to fly, say in 360 degrees, then during flying, due to this variation in the compass, due to magnetic pole, then if the variation is say 9 degrees towards east, then we have to subtract the actual true course with this deviation, that is 9 degrees. And then it means the magnetic heading now, it becomes, the magnetic heading is now 351 degrees. So it means in with the compass navigation aid, we have to fly in a direction of 351 degrees. And if you are flying in the east, say 181, for example, if you want to fly in the 90 degrees, then -90 is we have to fly with respect to 81 degrees. Likewise, if you are flying 180 degrees, then -9 we have to fly in the compass with respect to 171 degrees, and so on. It continues. It is minus. If he is on the other side, if the variation is with respect to west, then we need to add those many degrees to our compass heading, and then we have to fly in that particular direction. Clear? Is it clear, cadets? I want someone to summarize it. The deviations and how do we correct the deviations in the compass, the magnetic compass. Quick. Senior cadets. Summarize it, whatever we have studied so far, whatever we have discussed so far. People are listening or not? And summarize it. Summarize the topic which we have discussed. Quick. It means nobody has followed the topic. It's very clear. We have talked about the effect of variations on the compass. So the true north and the magnetic north variations differs from place to place. And with respect to the true course, we have to adjust our compass heading or the magnetic heading by adding or subtracting if the deviation is with respect to west or east. So we will subtract if it is east and we will add if it is to the west. So apart from that, there are other deviations also. And this deviation occurs due to the magnetic effect in the aircraft equipments. So due to aircraft equipments, there will be some other deviations which need to be taken care by the pilot. And along with that, there will be effect of wind, which has to be taken care. Okay. So with this, if you look into the formal definition of aerial navigation, then it is art of guiding the aircraft through the air to arrive at a designated place in the designated time. So when we talk about the shape of Earth, so Earth is a sphere whose polar distance is 23 nautical mile less than the equator diameter of 6884 nautical miles. So polar distance is say 12,714 kilometers, whereas the equator distance is 12,756 kilometers. And as we have discussed the great circle, so it is a circle on the surface of Earth whose plane cuts the Earth into two equal halves. So this you are supposed to write in the examination when it is asked explain the great circle, and you have to tell it's a circle on the surface of the Earth whose plane cuts the Earth into two equal halves. And the shortest distance between the 2 points on the surface of Earth will be along the great circle. And small circle is, for example, near the North Pole, if we take the latitude, then that can be represented as a small circle. It is a circle on the surface of Earth which cuts the Earth into again two unequal halves. So here you can see here the example is the parallel latitude. So equator is an example. It's a great circle. It's a plane in perpendicular to the axis of rotation of Earth. This you can see here. So here you can see these are the meridian lines of longitudes, and these are the parallel lines of latitude, and this is the equator. So meridians are semi-great circles joining the poles. So every great circle joining the poles forms the meridian or anti-meridian. So it can be north, which can be in the direction of north to south. So parallel of latitude, it's a place represent the east or west direction at that place. Longitudes, I think there is some mistake here. So latitude represents the north or south. Poles are the extreme points or extremities of the diameter about which the Earth rotates, that you can see from this diagram. So latitude is the meridian distance of place from the equator, which represents in degree, minutes, and seconds from 0 to 90 degree. So it is annotated as north or south equator, or the north latitude or south latitude, like this. And if we see the latitude, then it forms an angle with respect to this true north. So longitude, it forms an angle with respect to the Greenwich meridian, and it is represented in terms of again degree, minutes, and seconds, that is 0 to 180 degrees, annotated as east or west of Greenwich meridian. So this is the Greenwich meridian and the North Pole. Now you can see as we go here, we plot the lines. So it goes, the angle is measured with respect to the 0 to 180 degree. East, if you go in the anti-clockwise, then it is clockwise, then it is east. Now let us look into the rhumb line. It is a special line. So if you see this diagram, it cuts the every longitudinal line at the same degree. So if you see here, this is the thick line is the rhomb line, and this is the great circle, and the dotted line is the great circle line, and these thin lines are the longitudinal lines. And when this line passes through each of the longitude, then the angle which is formed between the longitude and the rhumb is same, is equal throughout. So such lines we call it as a rhomb line. So here it is shown, rhumb line and the diagram, and it is parallel to the latitude. And we know that the Earth is tilted. It is not, uh, you know, north to south. It is not parallel. It is tilted with respect to the orbit by 23 degrees, 23.5 degrees. And here again, we can see the diagram of the true north and the magnetic north. So that, and the variation of pointing these locations or the points is the variation. So you can see the degree of variation here, the true north and the magnetic north variation, right? So this is the true north, which we call, which is a geographical pole, and the magnetic north is here. True north, if you look into the definition, it is the direction indicated by the position of north geographical pole is the true north. The meridian on the surface of Earth represents the true north. And whereas the magnetic north is the direction in which the north ends of a freely suspended magnetic needle points is called the magnetic north. And the magnetic needle in this case is under the sole influence of the Earth's magnetic field. And there is something also called the compass north, which is influenced by various parameters. So here the compass, the magnetic needle of the aircraft compass is influenced by magnetized components of aircraft and magnetic field created by electrical circuits. So there is a slight variation which is created by compass. And variation, we already studied this with respect to an example also. So always there is a difference, not always, sometimes there will be difference with respect to the true north and the magnetic north. So if the variation with respect to east, then it is plus variation, it means we need to subtract it, and if it is west, we need to add. So deviation is the angular difference between the magnetic north and the compass north. Deviation is measured in again degrees and is named as east or west. Okay, so if we can see here, so this is the true north, this is a magnetic north, and the variation is this much, and the deviation which we are getting is this. So isogonic already we have discussed. Isogonic is nothing but these are the lines joining the place of equal variations. So if there is a variations, so we call it as isogonal lines. So next we talk about the measurement of directions. So heading. So heading is indicated by the direction in which the fourth and aft axis of the aircraft is pointed and is measured with respect to clockwise with respect to true north. It is measured clockwise with respect to true north. And the symbolic representation of heading, it is represented like this. This is symbolic representation. The track means is a direction of path of aircraft with reference to ground, where heading and track are different. They are not same. So heading and track of the aircraft are not the same, and more often differs due to wind, and that is represented by this. So now you can see in this diagram. So wind is coming from north side here on the top, and the aircraft heading direction is this, but track actually it is following is this. It's supposed to go to sea, but though it is heading or pointing towards sea, but it is flying to D. And track required, it is a track that the aircraft is supposed to flow on the ground in flying from one point to another. So that we call it as a track made good. And drift is a angular difference between the heading of an aircraft flown and the track made good. So I think you can see from this. Required track is this, and the track made good is this. And heading, it is showing this. Due to wind, what happens is that we are heading in one direction, but we are reaching towards B, but making a good track and reaching to this point. Okay. So we'll wind up the session at this point, and we will continue the next coming sessions, the remaining terminologies about navigations. If you have any queries, you can ask.